Okay, let's get into this deep dive. Today, we are looking at something really fascinating. It's this intersection of memory, pattern recognition, and professional life.
And we're drawing from a really powerful personal account by Dr. Jaime Hoerricks.
Right. And our mission here is, I think, pretty ambitious. We're going to try and reframe what people often call an overreaction, especially in the workplace.
And show that it's actually a sign of something incredibly intelligent, a kind of coherence.
It all starts with a moment that sounds completely ordinary. I mean, totally normal.
Exactly. The scene is a classroom. The speaker's talking with a student, Claudio. He's excited. He's about to graduate early for an electrician's apprenticeship.
Everything's good. It's positive. It's warm.
And then something shifts.
And this is the core of it all, isn't it? The air just tilted. But it wasn't the student's tone, it was. The source calls it the geometry of a story he told.
The geometry, yeah. It was a story about tension in his English class between the main teacher and the RSP, the Resource Specialist Program teacher.
All about who had the authority in the room.
And that was the click. That's what we're studying. For some autistic people, especially gestalt language processors or GLPs, memory just doesn't work in a straight line.
It's not linear.
Not at all. The source says autistic time folded. And the past, a specific, painful past moment, rose up, just whole and uninvited, right into the present.
So the body recognized the pattern before the mind even had a chance to connect the dots.
That's it.
And that's our whole project today, to look at this full body recognition, not as a disorder, but as a really sophisticated warning system.
Protection that's rooted in, well, in the absolute fidelity of pattern memory.
So to understand that, we have to talk about the mechanism. For most people, what are called analytic language processors, memory is, like you said, linear.
Right. If you ask me about a stressful meeting, my brain goes to a filing cabinet, pulls out a file.
Meeting, October 12th.
Exactly. And I get a story. First this happened, then this, then I said that.
A narrative. We retrieve the story.
But for a gestalt processor, memory comes back as atmosphere.
Atmosphere, what does that mean?
It means it's whole, it's immediate, it's pulsing with the original meaning. The sequence of events is like an afterthought.
So the body speaks first.
The body has already finished speaking before the mind even begins to sort out the facts. You're not getting a transcript, you're getting the entire sensory experience back. Instantly.
That's a huge distinction. Atmosphere over narrative. And that explains the speed and the depth of the reaction.
It does. And the source says these emotional stressors are stored not as a list, but as constellations.
Constellations.
Yeah.
So like a map of points.
A map of relational power. Yeah, think of it like a blueprint. A certain tone of voice, the way people are standing, a specific power dynamic. Those are the stars in the constellation.
So when a new moment, like Claudio just casually mentioning this classroom tension,
loosely matches that old design,
the body just recognizes it instantly. It's not looking for the same people or the exact same words.
It's looking for the shape, the geometry.
And the response is physical. The pulse quickens, skin tightens.
The breath forgets its steadiness, yeah. And the key thing is, the body is responding to the resemblance of the old injury, not the actual, maybe very minor danger in the present moment.
I mean, clinical language tries to label this, right? Emotional reactivation, hyperarousal.
But the source argues those words just miss the point. They meant the internal feeling of precision, of coherence.
So the body is protecting itself in the only language it trusts?
The only temporal grammar? Yes. It's speaking in the past tense of injury. It just bypasses the present moment story and says, I've seen this before. Danger.
Before the conscious mind can even say, oh, this reminds me of that thing from years ago.
The body is already in that thing from years ago.
Okay, so let's go back to that original injury, the one that built the constellation in the first place.
We have to. It happened during the speaker's first semester as an RSP teacher. She got her job description, and it was written in this, this clean, certain language.
The instructions were simple. Co-teach, support the lesson, collaborate.
And here's where we get to the idea of the autistic contract. For a mind that operates with that kind of fidelity, those words are a literal contract.
They mean what they say.
They promise mutuality, shared authority. So she walks into that classroom, genuinely holding that understanding, doing her job by the book.
But the ground just completely shifted under her.
Instantly. What she saw as collaboration, the English teacher saw as a trespass, an intrusion.
Because there was a hidden subtext. It wasn't in the job description.
No, it was a subtext about hierarchy, about power. And she was expected to just intuit that from tone and body language.
And the result was?
A public reprimand. Deep shame and confusion. She was punished for honoring the explicit instructions, for her fidelity.
The source asks, how could fidelity be a fault?
And that question really gets at the structural failure. The institution was running on 2 different languages at the same time.
The official language, the one in the handbook.
And the hidden language, the one passed through implication and quiet power plays. And that's the one that really matters.
So you're set up to fail the moment you trust the map you were given.
You're faulted for not navigating through mist. It's a perfect analogy.
Which brings us back to the moment with Claudio and this idea that challenges what we even think of as a trigger.
Right. The source is very clear. The trigger was not the trigger.
Okay, unpack that for us. That sounds like a paradox.
It does, right? But what it means is that it wasn't one specific word, Claudio said. It wasn't a single thing.
It was the whole environment reaching a certain resonance.
It was the shape of his story, the architecture of it.
So what was the shape?
Claudio casually mentioned the RSP teacher was seen as trying to take over. See? Yeah. RSP teacher trying to take over. The junior partner accused of ambition by the senior authority. That was the echo. That was the pattern.
The content was casual, but the geometry of the power struggle was an exact match.
It was everything. The pattern just slid into place, and the nervous system didn't wait around for analysis. It filled in all the missing emotional lines from her own memory.
So the past came forward not as a recollection,
but as a return. Instantaneous, whole, immersive.
And you, the listener, need to understand, this is deeper than most models account for. It's the organism itself saying the terrain ahead looks so much like a past injury that caution has to be automatic.
It's incredibly efficient data processing.
Yeah.
But it also leads back to this critique of our institutions.
These 2 overlapping languages, the written one and the hidden one.
Most organizations are built to favor the hidden one.
And the administrators, they're often writing documents for, what, compliance upward?
Exactly, to make it look good for their bosses, for regulators. The documents are symbolic artifacts, not real operational maps for the people doing the work.
So the failure happens because the autistic educator understands the role too literally, too faithfully.
The system is designed to reward people who can navigate the social exceptions to the written rules. It's a collision waiting to happen.
A systemic betrayal, not an individual failure.
Yes. And that's what makes the next part so moving. When that old injury came back, it wasn't just panic that surfaced.
It was kinship.
Kinship. She found herself thinking about the other RSP teacher, the one in Claudio's story, imagining his posture, his earnestness.
That feeling of grasping for clarity in a system that won't give it to you.
The source calls it intergenerational autistic care.
Wow.
It's this silent, instant recognition that the system is broken, not the person. It's like saying, I see you, I know that road, I just survived it.
And that just adds so much weight to the trigger because you're not just reliving your pain, you're seeing the system inflicted on someone else.
Which confirms it wasn't a fluke, it's a structural guarantee.
So let's talk about the aftermath, the morning after the pattern clicks.
The speaker felt, quote, hollowed out. Light felt sharper, the quiet hummed. That's the residue of a nervous system that has just run a full historical simulation of danger.
Autistic systems settle slowly like silt.
A beautiful line. And that brings us to this profound choice, the decision to stay home the next day.
Which many would see as avoidance or fragility.
But the source frames it as integrity. It was the nervous system telling the absolute truth. You are at capacity. The ground is not steady.
We're all taught that just pushing through is what makes a good professional.
But this argues that if you have the security to do it, honoring your body's wisdom is the highest form of professional responsibility.
Recovery becomes an act of integrity.
Exactly. You're listening to the data from your own intelligent system. So while the clinical world might call it a panic attack or a meltdown,
the source says it was the opposite of disorder.
It was coherent autobiographical memory. The past recognized the present. It issued a necessary warning.
So this whole response,
yeah,
it's a deeply intelligent form of protection.
Guided by precise recognition. Rehearsing survival out of fidelity to what happened before. It's a highly calibrated warning system.
So when we go back to that moment with Claudio,
yeah,
the body knew. It knew the danger, the echo, the whole structural problem.
Long before the rational mind could write up a report.
But, and this is so important, the alarm didn't sound just to collapse the speaker.
No. It sounded to remind her that this time, she had the power to choose differently.
The wisdom inside the warning was, You do not have to endure this again. You can step away.
The recognition of the pattern gave her agency she didn't have the first time around. The memory was a guide, not a script for repetition.
And that brings us to our final thought for you, the listener. When you encounter a familiar pattern of harm or conflict in your life, at work, in your family, and it feels deeply physically resonant,
Consider what we've unpacked today.
how much of what we call stress or anxiety or burnout is really just the body's intelligent, faithful memory, warning us to honor our own history, warning us to finally reclaim the right to step away from situations that are designed to hurt us all over again. The real power isn't in ignoring the alarm. It's in listening to the fidelity of the echo.